Basically, my sister, 14, and I, 20, wanted a Nintendo Switch, but it costs a lot of money to get one, so we decided to split the cost. Overall, the Switch Plus games plus accessories cost about $420, and as I have a job and I'm older, I agreed to pay for most of it, $300. We gave ourselves about 3 months to save up money, but by the end of it, my sister didn't have enough for her $120 share. She was always spending money and hanging out with her friends. But I still wanted a Switch, so I said I would cover her as long as she paid me back via artwork and drawings. She's a great artist and she does do commissions, so we agreed that I would pay for her, and in exchange, she would create 3 to 4 drawings for me. So we bought the Switch back in January and we both use it. Anyhow, I asked her to draw me a portrait of my friend for her birthday, nothing too strenuous, asked her 3 weeks in advance and gave her all the info she needed. She never delivered and I was angry, but I just bought my friend another present last minute, so I wasn't too upset. Anyhow, fast forward to February and she did the same thing. Then more recently, I asked if she could draw a character I liked from a TV show and she just straight up told me that she didn't want to, that she never wanted to, that she didn't know why I kept asking her to draw things and that I was not entitled to her drawings. I reminded her that her drawing for me was literally a part of the deal we had on the Nintendo Switch, but she said it's been months since we got it, so we should just drop it. So I did just that, and now I'm refusing to let her play the Switch. Of course, she's angry, but I said it was technically my Switch now since I paid for it 100%. I brought it up to my mom and she said I need to be the bigger person here, figuratively and literally, and share it with my sister. Update. Anyhow, she actually came knocking on my door after lunch and apologized to me. She said her actions were unnecessary and she was mortified about how immature she acted. I kind of lectured her on financial responsibility and she took it very well actually. We started a change jar so she could save up, even if only a little bit at a time. We negotiated and I said the 3 to 4 drawing offer still stands, but I won't let her play with it until she creates at least one, and that I want the other 3 drawings done by the end of this year. So now she's drawing Haley from Stardew Valley. Some people are going to say I'm too lenient, but in the long run, it's probably better off like this. Not the idiot. She agreed to do something in exchange for use of your stuff. That's considered a verbal agreement, which by her voluntarily breaking said agreement gives her no leg to stand on. It's yours to do with what you please. She should be grateful to you for teaching her a valuable life lesson. That do what you say you're going to do or agree to do. She shouldn't feel entitled to something she didn't put anything off value towards. You're the idiot. Shockingly, I allow people who have not paid for my video game systems to use them. Do you play it 24/7? Never want to play it together? Want to forever ruin you two enjoying the Switch together? What is your goal here besides upsetting? Reddit is full of such angry little boys. How about choosing fun? This just means it's your property now when it comes down to it. If you want to pawn it, go ahead. But let her use it or you're treating your sister worse than any stranger. Not the idiot. You split the payment fairly and guided your sister into saving for it. When she couldn't pay, you offered an alternative method, just so she could understand that it's not right to go back on promises. Finally, you upheld your end of things by denying her access, because she failed to pay, despite being given very reasonable conditions. You've done enough as a good sibling. Maybe it's finally time for your mom to be the bigger person, and teach her own kid financial literacy. I, 32, met my late wife when we were 17. We dated all through college and moved in together and got married after graduation. 2 years later, she got pregnant and we were anxiously waiting for the birth of our daughter. However, it was a rough pregnancy, and she passed away while giving birth to our daughter, 7. I won't lie, it was a horrific time in my life. I was struggling with losing my first love unexpectedly and learning how to parent a newborn. I relied heavily on my family for support, and after a couple of years, I pulled myself up by my bootstraps for my daughter and got our lives together. Around this time, I met my current soon-to-be ex-wife, 30. She was the first woman who caught my eye after so long grieving, and we fell in love. I admit I became a little too rash after seeing how good she was with my daughter, and we got married after about a year of dating. Flash forwards to now. She's cheating. I found out about it through one of her coworkers who thought I should know. I'm devastated. I filed for divorce, but because of current world events we are still living together and forced to interact. Because of this, we have spent a lot of time talking about how to split things up, not always amicably. She wants 50-50 custody of my daughter. I said hell no. To be clear, my daughter is 100% aware that her bio mom died in childbirth, and that stepmom is not her bio mom. She calls her stepmom by her first name. That is how I introduced her. I do not plan to fully cut them off. My soon-to-be ex-wife is the only mother figure my daughter has known, and I will fully support them having contact and keeping up with their weekly Saturday movie nights. I just don't want to split custody 50-50. My daughter is my daughter and she will stay with me full time. However, my soon-to-be ex-wife is calling me selfish and horrible and saying that my daughter is hers as well and it's cruel to not allow for an even split. This is what makes you not an idiot, and also a good parent. Your ex and your daughter have an important relationship, independent of you, and you are right to preserve it. Regardless of your relationship with ex, it is in your daughter's best interest to maintain a healthy relationship with the only mother she has known. But of course, you shouldn't agree to 50-50 custody. That'd be true even if you were parting on amicable terms. This is your daughter and you shouldn't put yourself in a position where you may be forced to fight for custody over her. No idiots here. Yes, the wife, in general, is an idiot for cheating, but she's not an idiot for wanting to continue her relationship with her stepdaughter. You need to talk with a lawyer to see if your wife has any rights to your daughter and get the lawyer's opinion on how you should proceed. You also need to think about how your daughter would feel about going from seeing her stepmom, who is the only mother figure she's ever known, every day to see her one evening a week for movie night. Your daughter's feelings are the most important part of all of this. You need to figure out how she feels and go from there. Not the idiot, cheating and hurt feelings aside, this woman has been in your daughter's life for 2 years and is not biologically related to her. While 2 years may feel long for a child, it is not long in the scheme of things. Even though she probably doesn't want things completely uprooted, I would be really skeptical about whether she wanted to remain your daughter's primary mother figure for the next 11. I think it's better for your daughter if you don't cut her off completely, but I really don't think 50% custody is appropriate from any perspective. I, 21, have 2 older sisters. Amy is 31, and Bree is 26. I am a person who likes to gift people things. Mostly just randomly, like oh I have an extra XYZ, you want it? If it's like a $15 item that I don't need, I don't even really think about it. Recently, I bought some lip balms from a kind of expensive skincare company. We were moving at the same time and I'm a disaster, so I promptly lost 2 of them. Bree was helping me unpack when I found one of the lost ones and I told her she could have it on a whim. No biggie. Couple of months later, Bree drove us to our parents' house for my dad's birthday. I had brought bath bombs for both of my parents as a gift. The one I brought for my mom accidentally rolled out of the bag and got left in Bree's car. She realized later, offered to bring it to me. I told her not to worry about it since I have more than I can give to mom. The next time Amy was at my house, she saw my box of bath bombs, grabbed one, and said, "Hey, I'm taking this since you have Bree one." I was a little taken aback but didn't protest because I didn't really care. I guess she was expecting a fight though, because she immediately starts saying that I don't give her anything and that I gave Bree more stuff and starts listing the above instances and a few others. Now I'm annoyed because it's just point blank not true. I give Amy things all the time. Just recently I was ordering myself a craft project off of Amazon and bought her one too because she mentioned it looked cool. I also buy gifts for her kids all the time, and Bree doesn't even have any yet. I told her I didn't appreciate her keeping track of the gifts I was giving people because if she's keeping track, we all have to keep track or else someone's going to get their feelings hurt, literally what happened. I would prefer if no one kept track under the understanding that as sisters, things will even out in the long run. She kept protesting, so then I got mad and started listing things back at her. Months ago, she gave Bree a very expensive makeup palette for no reason. Did I say anything? If we're being technical about it, Bree was unmarried and living with me for 10 years longer than Amy was. You don't think she's bought me more hot Cheetos and Sonic and other random crap over those years? I didn't get my license until I was 19. Who do you think drove me around all that time? Everyone's mad now, somehow because of me and my penchant for giving people things. Bree's annoyed that she's being dragged into this. My parents are saying I shouldn't have rubbed Amy's face in the things I buy for her. Not the idiot, that's a fast way to stop getting things altogether. You gifting people stuff is your decision and you are free to do it as you please, and even if she gets less stuff than anyone else, she has absolutely no reason or right to complain. If she tries getting others on her side, you can just tell everybody you won't be giving out any freebies except on birthdays and holidays thanks to her whining, and do just that for some weeks. Look how fast people will stop defending her then. Not the idiot. I get how she feels maybe if she was left out with the bath bombs. But it sounds like you really just happen to have extras or stuff you don't need, and whoever is there first can have it. It shouldn't be such a big deal that you're closer to one sister than the other, in my opinion. If she were trying to be closer and you refused, then you would be an idiot. But it's not like you're their parent who has to equally divide everything. Not the idiot. Your manipulative, insecure, and envious sister is trying to gain additional privilege that she hasn't earned or doesn't deserve, under the guise of equality. She wants equality in outcome, but using her own definition, but ignores the equality in responsibilities, input, for example, money. Do not give in to her sense of entitlement. Give gifts according to your desire, not according to your sister's definition of social justice. My wife is 37 weeks pregnant. We are the first of our family generation to have kids, so it's been a big deal and everyone is super excited. My mother doesn't have a lot of money and she has started making comments about getting the baby's room ready. I asked her to elaborate and she says for my grandson to sleep over, of course. She lives over 2 hours away, has 2 very large dogs she cannot control, and has an agriculture business in her basement that smells the entire house. I told her save your money because that's not going to happen. She thinks I'm joking at first, but when she sees I'm serious she starts freaking out. From her perspective, she has waited 30 years for a grandchild, and since my sister can't have kids she fuels all of her excitement into us. She has a fear of driving, so her visits to us will be limited in the first place. She is taking her excitement over the top. Her friends threw her a grandma shower, for God's sake. I told her that I will not be driving 5 to 10 hours per weekend so he can sleep over in a place where there are untrained massive dogs. They are sweeties. But I don't want to take the chance with a 250-pound Saint Bernard and a 150-pound Newfoundland that like to jump, and an offensive smell that permeates the house. She responds saying she has thought of all that and will be taking the train, segregating the dogs, and installing a massive air purifier in the room. I still tell her no with the logic of I don't want my child being 2.5 hours away from me. I'm not comfortable with taking a baby on a train. We are trying to avoid formula, and even with the dogs being in another room and an air purifier where he would sleep, I am not comfortable with the arrangement. I told her we can visit once in a while, but not until he's a little bit older, and it's unlikely we will be sleeping over. Her home smells, is small, and very uncomfortable. My mother cries like she has just lost a child. I call my sister and ask her for help. She lives a lot closer and has a much closer relationship, and she thinks I am being unreasonable. Apparently, my mother has already gotten the room ready and has been saving up for this huge air purifier / ozone generator thing, and talked through it with my sister because she knows I'm stubborn. No idiots here. Grandma is excited, that's understandable. You're a first-time parent who is being careful. Also understandable. But, I would hold firm on your concerns. It doesn't matter how sweet they are, they're big and heavy. I have a 100-pound golden retriever who is the sweetest and best dog ever, but we still had to keep him away from our kids when they were tiny because he just didn't understand that if he laid on top of them he would hurt them. I wouldn't allow my infant to be several hours away from me either unless there was a need, not just a want. Not the idiot. I would never assume a parent would feel comfortable leaving their child overnight, and hours away, even, regardless of the relationship. That's just so presumptuous. Especially the first few years. That's crazy. This is not to say that parents shouldn't do that, just that no one should assume it. If that's something they're comfortable with, great. But if not, it's positively absurd to pitch a fit about it. And that's all dogs and cigarettes aside. I'm not sure I'd feel comfortable leaving a kid with your mom until they were quite old. No idiots here. but I can't help shake the feeling that even if your mom didn't have an agriculture business and didn't have dogs, that you'd still be against your kid ever staying, and not just staying but seeing your mom ever, besides once in a blue moon, as in you don't want your mom to have much to do with your kid ever, even when they graduated from baby to toddler. I mean, I can get you not wanting your baby 2.5 hours away, but once it says a 5-year-old kid, it'd be good for you and your kid to occasionally get a night, weekend away every once in a blue moon to see family/close friends, but I don't have all the info, so I'm stuck with it. I live in a pretty bad triplex to save some money. I can hear almost everything that my neighbors on both sides can do. One side is a lawyer who has the apartment as one of his outreach offices, so he's cool, though I've heard some crazy things about the mindset of petty criminals. Another side is this dude Warren, who was cool at first, but we had a falling out a few weeks ago because he's sort of an idiot and I stopped inviting him over. Warren started blasting his music as a way to get revenge on me. Both I and the lawyer have called the cops, called the building owner, and Warren always gets a warning, then chills for the rest of the day, but almost always starts up again about noon the next day. Last night, I hear Warren's music kick on about 8, but then I heard him leave. After then I got high played for the 10th time. I knew he mocked me. I texted him and asked him when he was coming back. He said, "Oh crap, sorry man, not coming back until Tuesday." So sorry. I called the owner, she said there was nothing she could do. I called the cops and they came over and said there wasn't anything they could do without a warrant. She said she would talk to her supervisor about getting a warrant, but I never heard back from her. I tried to drown out the music with my headphones but couldn't take it anymore. So at like 2 a.m. I hopped over his fence and pulled up his sliding glass door. You can jimmy the non-sliding side on all 3 units, and went in his apartment and not only turned this thing off, I cut the cord to his 2003 circa iPod clock radio that he using to repeat the song. I then wiped off all my fingerprints as best I could and went home and slept soundly. No fallout yet, but I feel a little guilty and I certainly shouldn't have cut the cord to his iPod player. But am I an idiot? Update. I started to feel bad about cutting the cord, so I waited until the lawyer's secretary left and grabbed my old cord box and jumped the wall and into the door. I found a cord that was pretty close and plugged it in. However, I didn't check the polarization and it fried the clock radio. I just left it, and I'm sure stupid Warren will think he fried his radio by leaving it on. You are the idiot for cutting the cord. Why couldn't you unplug it/switch it off? Hit breaker box switch. I had a very similar experience. My landlord owns the shop underneath and left the radio on extremely loud and locked up the shop, could not sleep at all. I didn't break in, but our shared hallway has all the power boxes, so I just flipped the switch off. He didn't mention it, he must have assumed something tripped it. Just to clarify, he's an auctioneer, not any shop with damageable items if a switch went off, like a shop with fridges would be. Everyone's the idiot here. Cutting the cord was too far, even though he was being a huge idiot prior to that. Just turning it off would have worked fine. Also, did you consider the possibility that that might have been his form of burglar deterrent? Some people leave on radios, TVs, lights, especially if they can program them to turn off and on randomly, if they don't have a proper burglar alarm to make people think there are people in the house still so they won't rob it. Not the idiot, however, definitely the criminal. You clearly have an apartment manager, or a landlord, or some property specialist. It's as simple as a call. Considering you had the whole weekend regardless of work or daily plans, you could have somehow contacted them. Or the police. However, you chose to invade their home and privacy. By illegally entering their domicile, which is a criminal act regardless of intention. Also, technically confessing online that you broke into their home could land you in a bit of hot water with your local public authorities. You could still be charged with unlawful entry.